Marvel Comics promised that most people were just going to hate what they did in Amazing Spider-Man 26, and I don't know, it didn't feel like many people hated it at all. Maybe a few people here and there on social media, but for the most people were like, oh, you're going to kill off Kamala Khan, a non-Spider-Man character, and you're going to make the two kids that no one likes disappear. Not really all that hateable for the most part, and it was basically greeted with a ho-hum whatever. It turns out they're really going to do something, at least that I hate. I definitely want to hear from you guys on this one. In Amazing Spider-Man 31, they're going to take Mary Jane Watson. She's no longer going to be the damsel in distress, the girl next door, Peter Parker's sweetheart. She's going to be a superhero in her own right, and she's taking up the moniker of another character that no one remembers and no one ever cared about when it came out. It was created by Dan Slott. One of the good reasons that no one actually cared about the character. I remember when Jackpot came out, it was just like, oh, wow, a generic female, really strong hero with red hair. Everyone thought it might be Mary Jane. Turns out it ended up being another lady, and then it was another lady. And then they were going to make like a movie about it with Martin Guggenheim writing it, because I think he wrote like the spin-off comic book that didn't sell either. And then everyone realized no one gives a fuck about Jackpot. No one cares about our stupid generic Supergirl hero. So now they're going to repackage that and throw it on top of Mary Jane Watson, one of the most beloved side characters, love interest in comic book history, to make Amazing Spider-Man even more watered down and stupid. I don't trust Zeb Wells and Marvel Comics to deliver a good Spider-Man comic book featuring him as a superhero, let alone Mary Jane Watson as a newfangled stupid Jackpot superhero. Once I talk about the powers themselves, I think you guys are going to be with me. You're going to hate this as much as I do. Here's the news that we do have. Mary Jane Watson will officially take up the mantle of Jackpot in Amazing Spider-Man 31, in which she'll become the Marvel Universe's latest superhero with a new costume designed by Humberto Ramos. Mary Jane has had her Jackpot powers since the start of the current volume of Amazing Spider-Man, though she hasn't actually taken the step of being a full-on superhero until now. And for the most part, Spider-Man fans, Marvel fans, and basically anybody with any reading acumen has basically hated this run of Amazing Spider-Man, let alone this latest volume, where all of a sudden Mary Jane's in another world with this guy named Paul, and all of a sudden her eyes are turning red. She's got this undefined power set. You're like, why are they doing this? Certainly, it's going to be some like stupid side story. She'll lose the powers and they'll go back to the status quo, being normal, and she'll just be, Peter Parker's best gal. No, they're not going to that. They're actually going to go with it. They're running with this absolutely stupid idea of making Mary Jane Watson into a superhero. We can't get Mayday back. We can't have any of the cool things that we've actually liked about Spider-Man. Think about all the things that they've destroyed over the last decade or two with Spider-Man. But we've all been just champing at the bit, just craving for Mary Jane Watson superhero to take up the Jackpot mantle, which makes no sense. But whatever, man. It's just, this entire Spider-Man run is not worth reading, so why not throw some more gas on it and light it on fire? That's all it's worth at this point. It's absolutely stupid. Mary Jane's power involves a special gauntlet built by her current boyfriend, Paul, which has 3 symbol slots that spin when activated, just like a slot machine. Each combination of symbols provides a different power, though MJ can't always control what the powers will be or if it will even be useful. Zeb Wells is like, man, we haven't really exploited this Jackpot potential. Why don't we just turn Mary Jane into a slot machine? And she'll have a slot machine on her arm. She'll pull the dial, and whatever 3 symbols comes up, she'll have a different power set. Wouldn't that be cool? What an absolutely stupid power set to have, even if you were going to make her a superhero, which is stupid in and of itself. Like, it's a done concept just to make Mary Jane into a superhero, but then to give her a freaking slot machine on her arm. And I remember I was reading Amazing Spider-Man 25 when Mary Jane and Paul were like in this other dimension, and he came up with this slot machine, and Doc and I were reviewing the comic book, and I was like, what if the 3 symbols they bring up like kill you? What if it's worse than whatever you're trying to fight? They don't even know what they're doing with this thing. And it was a stupid concept then, and Doc didn't have an answer, and I didn't have an answer. It was like, they're just blindly turning stuff and hoping something good will happen. And they've somehow upgraded that into a superhero ability. I can't wait till Mary Jane pulls 3 cherries, and I find out what superhero power that is. Maybe she'll be able to walk on ceilings. Maybe when she hits like the line, double line, that she can spit like a llama. Wouldn't that be cool? What else can we get when it says jackpot, jackpot, jackpot? Does that mean she actually gets Spider-Man powers and she can do something actually interesting? Like this is the dumbest concept in the history of superheroes. What makes a superhero story compelling and cool is when they have a power set, they know how to use it to its fullest potential, and then you introduce a villain or just a plot line where that power set really isn't helping them, and the superhero has to overcome it. This is what happens with Mary Jane. Doc Ock shows up, she pulls her slot machine, and all of a sudden she can jump real high. I'm at a loss for words here. I would like to be mad about this, but I can't really be mad at Marvel Comics anymore. It's just like laughable. I just feel bad for Amazing Spider-Man fans. I feel bad for myself to having to cover something this absolutely stupid. And the character of Jackpot, why would you even reuse the superhero moniker? Why wouldn't you just call her something else and try to make something that actually has some long-term potential? Because this character name has never been of value and never will be. The original Jackpot was Sarah Arrett, a scientist who developed a serum that gave her super strength. Following her debut in 2007 Spider-Man Swing Shift, Jackpot's secret identity was a mystery, with many readers and characters suspecting that the character was a new superhero identity for Mary Jane due to her red hair, and the Jackpot name seemingly referencing MJ's famous line, "Face it, Tiger, you just hit the jackpot." Now the story has come full circle, with Mary Jane Watson actually taking up the Jackpot mantle after all these years in the landmark issue, which Marvel states will kick off the second year of the current volume of Amazing Spider-Man. Well, finally it came full circle, because we were all being like, you know what? I think when they introduced Jackpot, they're really hinting that was going to be Mary Jane, and then they were going to pay it off 16 years later. Like, no one asked for this, and certainly no one was expecting it, and nobody wants this. Zeb Wells and Nick Lowe have to go back to the drawing board. CB Cebulski actually has to act like a boss and get over the top of these guys and be like, listen, you can't just write bullshit, stupid stories that no one likes. You actually have to do something that makes sense for the character. This doesn't make sense for Mary Jane. It doesn't make sense for Spider-Man. It doesn't even really make sense for Jackpot. The character had no future when she was just like really generic female version of Captain America. And she has less of a future now that you've decided to change the power set and turn Mary Jane Watson literally into a walking superhero powered slot machine. Probably the dumbest concept for a superhero to come out of Marvel Comics in about 3 weeks. Like they come up with nothing nowadays. I wonder why manga is absolutely destroying Marvel and DC sales. I wonder why nobody is on social media right now talking about what great comic books Marvel Comics has. This is how bad it is at Marvel Comics. Recently, somebody put up a picture of a Thor comic book written by Jackson Lanzig and Colin Kelly, and they said, are these writers good? Someone came back, and I imagine this was with a straight face because it didn't sound sarcastic, and they said, those are Marvel's best writers outside of Al Ewing and Jed MacKay. That's how bad it is at Marvel Comics right now. Al Ewing is the fucking high watermark. Jed MacKay is considered one of the 2 best writers in all of Marvel Comics by some of the fandom. People are actually going out there and saying, you know what? If it's got Jackson Lanzig and Colin Kelly on the title, it might not be too bad. That's how bad Marvel Comics are right now. And shit like this, MJ as Jackpot as a superhero slot machine, only makes things worse and worse and worse. Amazing Spider-Man is a complete joke. The X-Men entire line is a complete joke. Captain America, complete joke. Although we do have J. Michael Straczynski coming back, so there is some hope, perhaps, for the future of Captain America. The Avengers line, an absolute joke from pillar to post. They are doing almost nothing of note right now. Phil Kennedy Johnson's recent Hulk debut was actually pretty strong. I like that comic book. But I imagine within 3 or 4 issues, Marvel and their editorial staff will do something to make it absolutely stupid. Unfortunately, Mary Jane Watson as a walking slot machine is not the low bar when it comes to Spider-Man related characters. In fact, I recently reviewed the debut of Sun Spider, the handicapped Spider-Man. This is one of the worst written comic books in the history of Marvel Comics, and it didn't come out that long ago. Definitely check this out if you want to see how bad it is at Marvel right now. There's also a link in the video description.